This podcast is created as part of Podcast Lab by India Film Project in association with Anchor by Spotify. Yeah, hey everyone. Once again, I would like to welcome you on to our this podcast session where we have invited Samraat as our guest today, and we'll be taking a look on a different data science profile and what kind of background he comes with and how he'll be right now into what kind of field he is in and what kind of jobs and responsibility he is going on with and how he thinks future of data science would look like. So he's another professional from data science field who's working as a senior risk management analyst with AMEX, that is American Express. So hey, hi Samrat, welcome.
Hey Akash, thank you
Yep,
for having me.
welcome to the podcast. And yeah, before we start, we always ask same question with our every guest that how things are going on right now in during the pandemic. What kind of productivity is there in your work?
Right, a very generic question for sure.
Right.
Everything is pretty smooth now. To be really honest, American Express has really taken the next step in virtualizing everything, securing everything. We were all provided with laptops and all the comforts at home, but keeping the health at a priority. So I would
Right.
say, yeah, I've been able to spend a lot of time with family, friends, and save a lot of time. But now I feel like I should start going out. It's been a long time.
Right. And it's actually a sudden start, and then we all of a sudden stuck for a very long time. Yeah, I think so.
Yes, exactly.
Generation biggest holiday we have ever celebrated, but with the work pressure, work at home. It's kind of a mixed kind of thing. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get to know you from your beginning of the journey, like where you have done your graduation, okay, and what kind of thoughts at that moment that what kind of companies you can land, okay, because at the starting when we are studying in an engineering college in India mostly, so we have a lot of segments where we can travel with our mind. So we try to do a lot of things, but once we go from first year to the final year, okay, we kind of streamline ourselves and find out where I really wanna go, right? So how your journey with the college, okay, and how you have taken your first step as a professional career, right?
Right, of course. Most people, I wasn't like most people. I would rather say I was. Uh, I didn't know what to do, and I think a lot of people do face that. They just follow the
Right,
herd.
right,
So just like that, I was in the same boat. I was just excited to go to DU. So that's where I started. I started with physics honors from Kirodimal College, and I was just excited to go there. Being in DU, being in one of the very prestigious DU colleges, I was really happy. But as the time passed, I had to start focusing on what I wanted. A
right,
couple of my friends were trying for actuarial science, being an actuarial analyst, and so did I.
right.
I didn't think much into it. I liked maths, I liked stats, and that's what it was about. So I joined it, and I started as an actuarial analyst from Mercer. Now,
Okay.
now that job really taught me a lot about myself, because before that there was nothing that just depended on me per se.
Right.
It was all just it was all just codependent. So that gave me a perspective that actuarial science is not for me. I gave it my good 2 years, and then
Right.
So I mean, just putting an end to that story, I was actually asked to leave that job because I wasn't able to perform as an actuarial scientist, an actuarial analyst would. So I wasn't feeling bad about it because there was no sync in it. So I had to
Right.
restart. I did a couple of startup jobs after that just to get the feel of it. But then I wanted to get into an MNC as well. Again, there are
Right.
comforts in MNC, and I was longing for it. I joined Barclays as a customer service representative. Worked there for 1.5 years, then moved to American Express. Then I again started for as a customer service for about 1.5 years. I was working in American Express as a customer service representative, and then recently in July I moved to Risk because about a year and a half ago I'd started working on building my data science skills. That was
Okay.
majorly SQL, Python, and Tableau. And yes, that really helped me realize what my actual strengths are, and that's how I landed this job. And I'm glad to say that this is really, I mean, giving me a lot of knowledge. And plus, Akash with the Data Talk and a few other communities and
Right.
Facebook pages, Instagram pages that I follow, they give me a lot of insight into this industry, and it's going to be big for sure.
Right. I think that journey make a lot of sense because you are not telling only about where you are focused or where you are interested right now, but what are the areas that you have really gone deep into it and figured out and find out that yeah, this is not for me. Like spending first of all 2 years with the Mercer, which you have said. So as you said that you're a part of a chain, that's something that is linked to what is your daily job process, right?
Yeah.
And then figuring out that yeah, this is not for me, and then making such changes from Barclays to American Express, and jumping back to data science. So during that jump, all the preparation you have done by yourself, or you have taken help from courses, something like that?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. That was again a process of elimination. So
Right.
there are options with YouTube, with Udemy, with LinkedIn Learning. There are a lot of courses, but
Right.
they are all video courses. A very basic thing in terms of learning that I needed. Not I wouldn't say everybody needs that, but I needed it.
Right.
uh, a little bit of hand holding in terms of that course correction from time to time,
Right.
prioritizing the right topics, prioritizing the right field, the right codes, languages, or the right part of process. Those things is where I needed guidance. So last year in July is when I started learning by myself, and in November I joined a course wherein a trainer was helping me. I would like to mention his
Okay.
name. His name is Ishank Agarwal, and he really knows his stuff. So he really guided me, and he still does. He's become quite a bit of a friend to me right now, but I still idolize him. But
Okay.
yeah, so he still does really well teaching for a lot of people, and that's how I was able to transition. He gave us the real picture, the right picture, and there was no sugar coating. So
Right.
that is what is needed. People have different journeys, different stories, but still you need to have a really fierce direction, a really fierce attitude
Right.
towards changing things. Because to be really honest, coming from customer service wherein your only job is to talk to people, to having an
Right.
analytical mindset and being able to see things through data, which I mean, there's a lot of information hidden there. So
Right. Right.
that that is something that was a transition which was big, but I was able to do it. I'm really glad, and obviously Shank had a big role in it.
Right, right. I think whatever you have said make a lot of sense. That online courses that we do, there is something because I'll be doing a course. It's a French course, okay, from Duolingo. So
Yeah.
one thing I have figured out, okay, and that is lack in online classes or courses is that if you're not able to maintain the discipline that you'll be spending 1 hour in a week, and what kind of time schedule you'll be going to give to that study, okay, things gonna start breaking. Once a loop start break, it'll become very hectic to get back to the loop, okay. And this became more, I think, comfortable when there's somebody or some mentor that you
Mhm.
really have, okay, to sit and figure out what kind of problems you are solving, as you mentioned, right. So I
Yeah.
think this make a lot of sense, and it really does a lot of help while making such kind of transition, to have somebody at your back, okay, and figure out how things are going on and how we can proceed further, right? So yeah, I think
Definitely.
definitely that is making a lot of sense. Okay, okay. So let's talk about the current your data science role. Okay, so what are you know whatever the people really think, okay, when we are from data science people, that we are investing most of our time in model building and figuring out how to improve the model, but there is a lot of things that is there beyond that model, okay, like understanding the data, and even not going to the data, we can give some positive insights that is make a lot of sense, right? So what kind of, if I'll say that a 1 year journey, how much time you'll be spending like in cleaning and analytics and model building and visualizations. So just to give a brief idea how things can look like for a professional like you in that kind of form.
Right. That's a brilliant question. So I've myself pondered on it a few times.
Right,
Um, so as you would know, as everybody knows, that data
right,
science as a field, data science as a skill can be applied to any field. But
obviously,
that's
right.
that's not the only thing. Let's say I'm into a fintech. Fintech
Mm,
fintech is still a very, very big umbrella. I'm working with credit cards department. I'm working with the credit bureau department of credit cards, and that too just the US market, and that too just the information that is being given to the bureaus and what is coming back from them. What happens in the
right,
background within Amex, what happens in the background in the credit bureaus is something that I'm not even connected to at the moment. So
right,
it's a very, very specific thing. But at the same time, uh, having a knowledge of your field is very important in order to draw the right insights. you
right,
you 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 need to know what you're saying is relatable and is correct. That is something that goes with every field. So healthcare, fintech, and e-commerce, everything, you can develop all the skills regarding data science. You can keep practicing, and you can master it. But at the same time,
right,
until and unless you're able to connect it with the with the business, it won't make sense. So yes, my current role is into credit bureaus, and there is a lot of data every day being processed. As you might know, there's millions of customers, and their
right,
information is being imparted. So
right,
that is where we come into picture. If something is not right, something has been alerted, we make sure that we deep dive into all the information and we rectify the problem as a team. And at the same time, there are regular checks. So we're trying to implement the regular checks and regular reports So reports is basically how we keep things in track. So my job here is to basically automate those reports, and I have Python at hand, I have SQL at hand, and I'm trying to implement all of that onto Tableau. So it's basically everything that I've learned. um, so in order to answer your question, in my daily work, I would say knowing the business is more important than the skill.
Right.
If you're willing to do that, there's a lot of sources to it. Obviously, the business is something that the manager knows, a lot of people know about it.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, just don't be bothered about it. Focus on data science and be able to implement it.
Obviously, actually, that makes sense. The way you are explaining things, I think, just correlate with the fact that data science is a skill set, but this skill set can be applied to different sectors, and those sectors have the domain knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So, to apply the data science skills to the different sectors, you have to connect together your data science skills with the domain knowledge, right? To
Yeah.
figure out that what kind of insight you can build out from that particular coherent, right? That particular sector. So it makes a lot of sense once you start working towards it, and as the time goes, your domain expertise become more concrete, and understanding over the data, understanding over what kind of pattern going in the market, and what kind of decision I should make is what really make data science more capable than the rest of the other decision that we make in the business, right?
Exactly.
So I think, yeah. So this is what I think we really want to give sense to the listeners. Okay, that how we as a data science professional be in our field and doing what kind of stuff right now. Okay, now I'll put you to complete a different context. Okay, we once we do this kind of podcast session, we make focus the freshers on priority, because they are somebody, okay, or someone who is looking to transition into data science, that they are somebody who can figure out by listening this podcast that how I should choose my journey ahead of it, right? So if you have anything like to tell the freshers, okay, that what kind of you think you can do, okay, while making a jump into data science, how can you prepare yourself, or even for someone who want to transition? Yeah, please.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's a good question. That's really relatable, because I've quite recently gone through the same process.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to gain as much knowledge as I could in terms of CV preparation, in terms of what kind of jobs I should apply for, in terms of what I should say in interviews, and things like that. To start with, let me go at this step by step. I'll try to make it brief as well. This CV preparation is the first step, because these days it's all scanned through electronically. Nobody is looking through the CVs, and even if somebody is, they spend about 10 to 15 seconds on it, just trying to look for the right keywords, the right skills. So focus on that. You're highlighting the right things and they are visible. You might have 10 jobs before the right relatable job. Those 10 jobs can be mentioned, but don't put much detail into what you're doing if it's not something that the HR wants to see or the job wants it. Just put one or two lines and move to the job wherein the information which is relatable to the job, to the current job that you're applying for, is there. So brief, get into details of that. Now, regarding the electronic scanning, just keep one column. Try to make it simple. Try to keep a simple font. The size should be 9 to 12, as I've heard. That's how it should be, because that makes the scanner easier for the scanner to easy to read.
Right, understand.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's one thing. That's about CV. And there are a few examples I will share with you, Akash. You can probably mention it on your website.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing is, most people get disheartened by looking at the requirements,
Right.
the work experience, the skills, or all of that. What you need to understand is that the HR does not know the field. The HRs are trying to play smart. Okay. Now they're looking for serious people, and they're mentioning the skills that they think would be required. Not every job requires you to be, expert in linear regression and random forest and
other machine learning models.
Exactly. Not all of them are used in all the jobs. One or two are the ones that are used. So don't get disheartened because of that. Just apply. They mentioned it should be 1 to 2 years, 2 to 4 years, just to make sure that somebody who's serious about doing a job is coming through, and not somebody who's a fresher. But if you have the right courses, if you mention everything like I've just mentioned in the CV, you will still get shortlisted even if the experience required is 2 to 4 years, because they are looking for serious people and you have the right thing there.
Right.
Now I'm talking to the freshers, not you, Akash. So you would think that kab tak karte rahe, for how long should I keep applying? There's no revert. There's no revert. What you need to understand is that just like any other, let's say, selection, any other entrance exam, so to say, there's always a law of average happening, right? 10,000 people appearing for the exam, 2,000 getting, clearing the exam.
Right.
Then about 100 getting the seats, and things, it just keeps getting shorter. So what you need to do is you need to increase your pool. This is something everybody would have learned in statistics. You need to increase your pool. Apply for 10 jobs, you get a call from 2, and out of those 2, let's say you keep going like that, you apply for 50 jobs, you get calls from 10. Out of those 10 you'll get selected in 2. So you need to keep that average in mind. To give you an example, I applied for about 290 jobs within AMEX. I got shortlisted for about 22 jobs. And that is the interviews that I gave, and I got selected in 1. That's how law of averages works. So
great, right.
So
and you are still talking about the same company, right?
I'm talking about the same company, within the same company.
Right.
So yes, it's a deadly fight, but it's just somebody who has the perseverance. Just keep going at it. You'll fall. Right. You'll find it. Yeah. That's one thing. And during the interview, don't fake anything. Just be real. Mention things which are correct on the CV. Don't oversell, because those people are masters of their industry. They know people.
Right, obviously.
If you're lying to them, if you're trying to fake something, they'll know. And there's no point to it. You're not learning anything from it. So
right, obviously,
go at it with the right mindset. Just focus on 1 or 2 topics if you have to, and master it. And that's what you can sell in the interview, and the people will buy it. You don't have to do everything. Don't be a master of everything. And how do you say, just something, there's a saying to it. Don't do that. So yeah,
right.
that comes from experience, and it's not just my experience. I've spoken to a lot of people who have been doing interviews. That's how it is.
Yeah, I think it's everyone's journey, right?
Yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think you have covered a broad sense, right? And it's really like these 5 or 10 minutes that we have discussed for the session make a lot of sense. But I just want to brief on 2 things, okay? Out of all the discussions, which I think freshers should be focused on.
Mhm.
One is that to first focus on building your profile. Okay, like you have said, there are a lot of machine learning models, and it's not important that you know all of them in a very well, but if you know two of them in a very well mannered, okay, that's good enough,
Yeah.
right? If you understand its basics and its capability, that's good enough for to go ahead with it. Okay,
Yeah.
second thing is that, you know, once interviewer asks you a question, you may know it, you may not know it. Just tell directly that I don't know it. Okay, I'll learn and figure it out after the interview, or in sometimes in the next sometime. But
Yeah.
if you keep trying and faking, it will be a very bad impact, right, for
Yeah.
the interviewer. And even we
Truly.
think that if you'll be doing right now this, then there is a lot of work pressure within our organization. Okay,
Yeah.
and it will be like your trying to give an answer which you don't know is making a sense that you'll create some problem and will not take the responsibility of it. So I think this is what can be figured out. Okay, and it's a kind of messy thing that we can do on interview. So keep avoid and tell directly that I don't know. I'll figure it. I'll find it out. Maybe I'll just note it down and figure it out and next times. Right.
Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
things, what I feel, okay, make a lot of sense. And yeah, I think we have covered a
Yeah.
lot of
I
positive
second
things
that.
here.
Truly. Yeah.
Right. So I think right, we have covered a lot of positive things and a lot of insights in this episode. And I really think that even if we as a professionals listening to this podcast can gain some good insights. Okay, and we are a part of Data Talk community. Samraat is also part of it. Do join with us, okay, and we can sit together and figure it out that what kind of problems you are looking for. We are always happy to help in any kind of professional matters that we are doing, right? So I think this is it for the today's session, and thanks Samrat for taking out time and sitting with us and discussing uh, during this podcast. And yeah, so this is it, and I think we'll see you. Subscribe to the channel and don't forget to press the bell icon.